So today, I am here to talk about something very interesting. Something that I haven't spoken about publicly, I would say ever. Before I had this fear. I had this fear of if I spoke out about anything political, it would have negative consequences towards my career. Now, fortunately, I don't quite have that anymore because I have my own business now, and also I don't operate from fear anymore. And based on the title that you've clicked on this, it's talking about the election, Trump, Kamala, Democrat, Republican, and where I stand on this. So by the end of this video, you will understand why I'm supporting one person as opposed to the other. And I first want to start with a story. I used to live in the U.S., so I'm in Canada now. I used to live in the U.S. I was there for 7 years. Yes, 7 years, close to a decade. And I remember when I was there as an international student, and then I got a job in the city that I graduated from. It was a small town in Pennsylvania, State College. And I was among the people. I had an industrial engineering degree. I was working a technical job. I was working a software implementation job, and I was contributing to the local economy. A lot of other people, like US residents, got an offer from that same company as well, but they didn't take it. Why? Simply because it was a small town, and they wanted to move to their home states, or they wanted to kind of move to a bigger state itself. So I was actively contributing to this small like this small city, this town. And when it came time to transfer over from my student visa to the work visa, most of you know there's the H-1B lottery system. And in the lottery system, up until a certain point, if you got selected in the lottery, you basically had the visa, right? And everyone that got the visa beforehand told me this. And I applied for the visa the first time around. I didn't get it, right? So I didn't get picked in the lottery. It was about I did the math, and it was about a 24% chance of me getting it, right? So it's basically like a lottery. Granted, the odds are much, much higher. And the second time around, I got it. I actually got it. I got selected in the lottery. And this was in 2019. This is 2019. And Trump came into office in 2016. And one of the things he started cracking down on was this H-1B visa. And lo and behold, I found myself in a position where everyone told me, right, the moment you get picked in the lottery, boom, you're good to go. So with that information, I started settling into the life that I had there. I got myself a kitten. Her name was Fergie. She's still alive. But Fur with a Fur. I was very proud of that name. And I got myself like a new car and all that, right? So I was like starting to live. And told my parents, my mom and my sister were in town too. We celebrated together, and it was celebrated with my coworkers as well. And it was a moment, right? It was like, wow, I'm going to be spending like my life in the US. And then I got hit with a notice for more evidence, which is essentially like it's a hey, we're not quite sure we want to approve you, so give us more evidence. And then we gave like a lot of evidence. We even worked with a third party company. My company and we did everything we could. A couple months later, I get a rejection letter. And I've had rejections before. I've had rejections in my life, but never did I have a rejection of about 10 plus pages when the rejection like letter came. Not even letter, a rejection book came through. And my life fell apart. And the only person that I could blame was Trump and his administration, because they took a stance in that time to crack down on illegal H-1B visas. But mine was nothing but I was one of the victims in that, because The biggest thing of getting the H-1B visa is your degree that you studied in college has to match the job that you're doing. My job required an engineering degree, not an industrial engineering degree. So it was like, hey, if you have any engineering degree, you're eligible for this role. And my question is to anyone is right now, how much of what you studied in college is what you're doing now? Unless you're a PhD, a doctor, chances are most of you listening to this, what you studied in college has nothing to do to what you're doing now. For me, at least, it had like, I would say 40 to 50% of what I studied in college was what I was doing at work. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. They wanted, one of the biggest things they harped on in that rejection letter was your job doesn't require an industrial engineering degree. I was contributing to the local economy. I was paying my taxes. I was basically like an American, like spending my money left, right, and center after work, going to the bar with my coworkers. And it felt like the biggest slap in the face. Like I did everything right and it didn't work. And I had to let go of this like 7-year life that I created in a matter of like 2 or 3 months. And it felt so bitter. And the only villain that I could see is Trump. And everyone around me was telling me this too. Like, yo, if it wasn't for him, you would have made it through. If it wasn't for this policy that they were trying to do, trying to clean it up, would have made it through. And I had this like, when Trump got elected in 2016, I was like, what the, right? I was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? I'm pretty sure, actually, I know now that even he wasn't expecting it. And it felt like the world just got a little bit more darker as he got elected. And then, right, so that's 2016. And then a few years after that is when I had to leave. I had to leave the country. And so, yeah, for 3 months, right, I packed my stuff, and luckily one of my coworkers took like Fergie and, like as his own. And I was excited because now I was moving back to India. I've never lived in India, and I live in Goa. And I was excited about that. I was like, okay, there's a reason this is happening, I believe, and it's time for me to go back and give back to my country, right? Go back and give back to my country. And lo and behold, all that happened, and then I moved to Canada actually after that. So I wanted to start with that because like this is where I was, with him, because this is what he had done for me, done to me, right? But you know what? You see, the beautiful thing is, as I'm recording this as well, right? Like as one door closes, another door opens. So whatever happened with that, I am so thankful and I'm so grateful because I'm living my best life now. I'm living my best life now. And if that had gone through, the visa had gone through, I don't think I'd be able to say the same thing. So this is the one thing I wanna, as a side note, as like a side note to this video, is if you feel slighted and you don't give up, right? You keep showing up for yourself as best you can, and then you come out of it, you will see how life aligns with you. And I am the perfect example of that. I was like that disgraced guy that left and went to India, back to his home country where he never lived. I was working for a while, and then I stopped that too. I was unemployed for a while, and I was like that bum. I was that bum, and I came out of that, right? Like, and now I'm living my best life. About 5 years later, and I am so thankful that all that happened. I'm so thankful I got kicked out of the U.S. Actually, I'm so thankful because I wouldn't be here today, and I love where I'm today. So just a side piece there. And then so fast forward now, right, when I see him stand for re-election, I was like, oh man, not again, really? Like, are we really going through this again? And I'll say this too, in 2020 when he lost, when Biden won, I was actually crying. I was crying tears of joy. I was crying tears of joy. And then so when I saw him like run again now, I was like, really? Are we going through this again? And the narrative started to shift though at this point. People that I didn't think would have conversations with him started talking to him. And then came, the thing that we saw. Then came, oh my God, the seeing him and Biden on the debate stage. I mean, we all saw that, right? We all saw that. And at that point, it was clear that Biden is not in charge of the country. Everyone saw it. Everyone saw it so much that he had to drop out of the race. And before I actually continue, I want to say like how sad I feel for him. Because we all like vilified him in a way, like the media. Like, oh my God, like we made a lot of memes and stuff, but it's like it's so sad for someone to have been I think he's like one of like he's been there since like his 20s and now he's in his 70s. And to have such a career in politics and to leave in this way is so sad. So sad that his last impression is what we saw on the debate stage. Even Trump felt bad at one point. I remember during the debate, Trump was like, yeah, I didn't understand what he was saying. And I don't think even he knows what he's saying. Yeah, so anyway, I digress. I felt bad. I felt really bad. Like this is how he's going out. And this is how we're going to remember him. And then the question became, who would put him in this state? Right? And then the eyes suddenly go to the Democratic Party. So before I continue, I have to put I guess, my political viewpoints out there. I am as left as it goes. Already? I'm a Democrat through and through. I am as left leaning as it goes. So I'm a Democrat through and through. And before in my life, whoever was the Democratic nominee, yes. Because no way do the conservatives win. No way do anyone on the right, anyone on the right is who I resonate with. Right? So through and through, I'm on the left. But suddenly, right, it's like, oh, eyes go to that. Like, why would they put him in such a place? They had phenomenal primary candidates, including Vice President Kamala Harris, but they didn't. And then they make the switcheroo at the last minute. And that's suddenly where things started to really change. Now, when Kamala came to the stage, essentially, the presidential stage, I was like, yes, okay. I have to reorient myself. Because at that point, after that debate, I was like, wow, I think I'm leaning towards Trump now. I can't believe I'm saying that, right? I'm leaning. I said I was leaning. I was like, oh, I'm leaning towards Trump now. And then Kamala comes in. I was like, okay, so here's some hope. And I heard some of her speech during the Democratic convention, and I was like, oh, okay. It's new energy, right? Like there's new energy in the Democratic Party. And this is where I started to see something in the party itself. That there's a system and there's a machine in the Democratic Party now that's taking place. And it's a system. And this is nothing against VP Kamala Harris at all. But I started to get the sense that she, just like Biden, in a way is a placeholder. That do I truly believe that she would be in charge if she were to be president? Honestly, no. I can't think that. And you know why I can't think that? So with Trump, the one, however you see this, okay, I want you to try and be objective for some time. If you look at the coverage of both of them, it's just like a night and day difference. You can see with Kamala, there's this force, this intentional force to prop her up. Media outlets, even the conversations. And then on Trump, it's just negativity after negativity. It took me 2 interviews to understand Trump in a different way. One is the All In podcast with Chamath, like Chamath Palihapitiya, and like the other 3, like David Sachs and all of them. I was like, whoa, this is such a nuanced, good interview. And then the other one was the X kind of spaces that Elon did with him after his assassination attempt. And that's when like things like really started to. This is where like critical thinking and rational thinking had to start taking place, like within me as well, because I would see how Kamala would just be propped up without doing anything at all. And then you have to start thinking about why is there this incentive for her? Why is there an incentive? Why is everyone in the media, especially news media is meant to be unbiased, right? That's what news is, but it isn't anymore. So then it's like asking the question, why? Why are they supporting? And that goes back to the machine, the system, right? So that's why I believe that if she were to be president, the system would still be behind her. And the thing is, as much it breaks my heart because as much as I am an Indian man at the end of the day, and as much as I would love to see a brown woman be the president of the United States, I cannot allow identity politics to play out again in my life. I'm done with that. I cannot allow identity politics to come in. And the Democratic Party has been doing this for some time now. And so again, I'm still left. I'm still liberal, but it takes someone from the left to call out the left. And we've been seeing that a lot. We've been seeing that a lot. People from the left, like it takes someone from one side to show courage and say, "Hey, there's something wrong on our side of the aisle. The problem isn't on that side. Maybe they got problems. They got problems on that side. But we got a lot more problems. We're the problematic child right now. So that's one of the things I would most definitely say there. That with her, I don't know who's in charge. And that brings some concern in. That brings some concern in. With Trump, the biggest thing is we have to discern him from the message. That means like separating the message from the messenger. I know it's difficult. I know. And remember the story that I shared as I started this. But it's important. The message is more important right now. The message is more important. The message is way more important. I have seen over and over again how he is slighted in the media. I'm not saying he doesn't have any faults. No shit he does. But it's very easy to see that it's a very biased news media that we're in, even social media with him. And I never thought, and because of this, I never thought this day would come. I never thought this day would come, but here we are. I'm not American, I don't get to vote, but I am supporting Trump in this election. It feels weird to say even. Wow. It actually feels weird to say. The biggest thing that's pinned against him is Project 2025. And one of the things I've heard is, one of the major things I've heard is, yes, I mean, that it sounds pretty wacky. It is wacky, that Project 2025 thing. However, he has never endorsed it publicly. He has never endorsed it. So it's one of the things that he gets stuck on, but he's never endorsed it. And it comes from someone that's super, super right wing, right? Just like we have far left at this point. So he's never endorsed it. So there's no reason to panic about, because that is the major talking point against him, is this Project 2025 thing. But he hasn't endorsed it. If you have time, try and do some research and then you will find for yourself. So I have 4 reasons for supporting him over my own affiliation, over my own like party that I resonate with, that I identify with. The Democrats. VP Kamala Harris. And I have nothing against her. She like when she talks, like I love her. Like she's got such an amazing personality. I would love to see her take the stage to be the president. But I know with Trump, he's in charge. With her, it's not even about her is the thing. It's the system that's behind her. And please stick around too, because there's a few more things that I want to cover that will help aid you in your capacity to think about this as well. So why? It's fourfold for me. It's fourfold. So first is, this time around, he's coming with experience. With the way the world is heading right now and what's going on, we need someone with experience right now. And someone that's not doing this for the first time. So he's coming with experience. The first time around, even RFK Jr. mentioned that he had a conversation with Trump, and Trump even acknowledged that they didn't think they would win, right? So he's coming with experience this time around. The second piece is I talked about the system. So there's this system. There's a system right now that isn't working. Okay? We all feel this. We all feel ever since the pandemic in 2020, the veil of the world lifted. We saw it for what it is. We're seeing shit come out now, right? About Hollywood and all of that. The system is not working anymore. It stopped functioning. We can see past it and it doesn't work anymore. We're in a phase of life that we have to face the truths of what's been held from us, the hidden agendas, and all of that. It's coming out. It's coming out. But there is a system. There is a system, and it's not really the people behind the system. Like, back in the day with Hitler, for example, I know it's like, oh, I'm bringing this up. A lot of the people that were working for him knew it wasn't right. Gassing the children, putting all the gas chamber and all of that. They knew it wasn't right, but it was the system, so they couldn't go against it. So this is a system, alrighty? And he is the only candidate that's willing to stand against it among the two nominees. The third piece is when we're on a healing journey, when I was on a healing journey, when you're on a healing journey, we have to take steps back. We have to go a few steps back into our past in order for us to move forward. So this also happens for any sort of healing. In this case, it's like healing of the world, right? So in order for us to do that, we have to go a few steps back, which is going back to a Trump presidency in order for us to move forward. And number 4, and this is the most important one, I would say, he isn't pro-war. He isn't pro-war. The stance of him saying, hey, I want the resources to be brought back to the US. I want to be America first, is not pro-war. And this is not necessarily something against Kamala, but the Democratic Party is definitely in the I don't want to say they love war, but they are pro-war. And this would be another tangent in itself. However, I'd love to give you a resource, which is there's a book called War is a Racket, and it was written by a distinguished general who saw what happens in war and who profits off of war. So I'll leave that for you to check out as well. If you want to learn more, let me know in the comments and I can talk about that. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I want to leave you with. This is what I want to leave you with in this conversation, in what I'm saying right now. The people that are supporting Trump, I want you to ask yourself why. Why would these people support him? One of the first people I want to bring up is Chamath Palihapitiya. He is also a person of color. One of the most successful people of color, I would say, in the Silicon Valley side of things. He's supporting him. Next up is Elon. Elon's well known for his free speech and trying to make things right to the best of our ability. Holistically trying to move humanity forward. The next one I would say is Tulsi Gabbard. If you don't know who Tulsi Gabbard is, she used to be a Democrat. She was actually one of what was she? She was like the deputy director, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. She was like really high up in the DNC, like the National Convention of the Democratic Party. She is supporting him. She is supporting him. She also she also was one of the nominees in 2020, I believe. Yeah, and she also got slighted by the Democratic Party. She is also supporting him. And last but not least, okay, when we think of, let's say, a Democrat, right? When we think of who would be an ideal Democrat? Like, who is the Democrat? Who is the Democrats of Democrats? The Kennedy family, right? Robert Kennedy and the Kennedy family, basically, right? They basically were the Democratic Party. So RFK, Robert J. Kennedy Jr., who was also a presidential nominee earlier on, who is a Democrat through and through, is now supporting Trump. Never mind everything that I said in this like 28, 29 minutes that I spoke here. I'd love to say this about my side of the aisle, which is the Democrats, the liberals, is we are rational thinkers, right? We're rational thinkers, we're left leaning, we are inclusive, we care, we empathize. And the biggest thing is we're rational thinkers. And the biggest thing I would say here to end is would why would RFK Jr. support Trump? Why? I am not going to give an answer or anything. You can kind of figure out on that your own. But that is something to talk about. Also, the other thing too is I haven't seen Kamala yet do podcasts or long form content, and I wish she did. She did one with was like the smoke, something the smoke, and it was the only thing that I enjoyed about that was like the mental health piece that they talked about. But it was a very softball interview. I wouldn't be surprised if it was scripted too, actually. There was no deep conversation about a particular topic. It was very surface level. So with that, yeah, why would RFK support him? Right? So uh there's clearly something happening within the Democratic Party and that system, and Trump is the only one that is willing to stand against it as a president, and that's why he has my support in this presidential election. Never thought I would say this, but here we are. And I'm open, very much open to having conversations with anyone about this, as it's only by talking about this and allowing our emotions to flow through during this time that we get to have deep conversations and intellectual conversations about this. Alrighty. With that, stay blessed.